The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. Alright everyone, well here we are with a video shot of our 1/350 scale Moebius Lost in Space, the Derelict. And I hope you guys enjoyed the slideshow we had there for you of this all getting put together. Had a wonderful time building this model. Typical Moebius, everything went together beautiful. It's a fairly low parts count kit, so not a lot of parts to deal with, but the parts that were here were really well engineered and it all went together really nice. Very minimal amount of seam repair to do on it and all that. And it's just a really fun kit. You can see it's about 17 or 18 inches long when it's all together, so it's a nice sized model at 1/350 scale. And it's a really nice representation of the original studio prop we saw from the episode The Derelict, which was one of the really early episodes of Lost in Space. I think it was the second episode overall in season 1. And this was just a really iconic alien ship design that kind of stuck with us a lot, and I'm glad they chose to bring this one out for the 50th anniversary of Lost in Space. And now the episode was originally shot in black and white, so nobody's really sure what color this was originally. So everybody that's building it out there is kind of putting their own interpretation on it. Now what I decided to do with mine is I went with a sort of a dirty silver color, like a pewter color, and made my mixed up my color for that. But the interesting thing that you'll see on here is that we've got this texture going on the surface, which you can see it's supposed to look like it's really beat up and old. That was one detail you noticed when they got really close to it, just before they got pulled inside during the episode. And in order to achieve that, I used some stuff in a spray can from 3M. It's just called a texture compound, and it sprays on in clear. It took about 2 coats, and it laid down pretty nice and even. Gives you, it's not uniform either. It sort of changes up on you, which I really liked. And I just put that down on there and let it dry, and then I sprayed over that with my primer, and then I went, over top of that with my base coat. But I've got this thing multi-layered here, and after I got all my pewter color on there, I went over it with some iridescent. It's kind of hard to see it in the camera here, but you'll see that there's some red and there's some green iridescent on this here and there. Hopefully it'll show up in the camera for you. The bright light in here reflecting on it, it's kind of washing it out a little bit, but in person it looks really, really cool. And then I just went over top of that here and there with my darker color, my airbrush, and put some texture on it here and there to make it, give it a little bit of character, like it's kind of worn out. And had a lot of fun doing that. You can see the detail here at the back, especially these antenna arrays or whatever they were. They're really accurate to the original prop, which is cool. And we've got it mounted on this nice little Polarlights base. The kit comes with a base similar to this, but it's much smaller in diameter, and there wasn't enough room in there to put my switch. And I've got a soundboard in this, and I've got a 9-volt battery that's down in there that's powering the entire thing. And what I did with the base is I just did a star field on it that you can see there, and then I did some kind of green nebula looking clouds, which I saw in a couple of the backgrounds in some of the color episodes of Lost in Space, and thought that might look neat. But that worked out really good. I just had to modify the hole in the bottom of the model to make it a little bit bigger, because the rod for the polar lights is just a slightly little bit bigger diameter, but it's a hollow one, so I was able to pass my wires up through there, where the Moebius supplied one is a solid rod, so you're going to have to substitute that if you want to run any lighting up inside this, which I decided I wanted to do. About 2 weeks ago I decided to start building this, and so I knew I wanted to do some lighting. I wanted to try to light the fusion core on the miniature Jupiter 2, and also some interior lighting inside this, which I got this idea of, since it was done in the 60s, that they might have some cool kind of psychedelic looking colors, so I wanted to do some RGBs in there. And so I gave my good friend Ralph at Tenant Controls a call, and we started kind of bouncing some ideas around, and in a matter of a couple of days I got a board from Ralph, and I'm really, really happy with it. You guys will be able to order one of these boards from him at www.tenantcontrols.com. It's a beautiful little board. You saw a picture of it in the slideshow there, and it's really small, so you can either put it in the base or you can put it up inside the model. There's plenty of room either way you want to go. But so what the board does is it controls the fusion core effect. We get the nice rotating effect on the Jupiter 2, which we'll show you that in just a second here on the interior. And then it also controls a couple of RGBs that I mounted inside from different angles that give us this really neat looking effect of kind of a weird alien interior, which is exactly what we were hoping for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the power on, and we'll have a look inside. And you can see that we've got our really nice little Jupiter 2 with our fusion core spinning there. And I achieved that by installing 6 0805 SMDs in the bottom and the fusion core in a circle. There was just enough room to get them in there. And then we've got those, the wiring harness basically runs out of the back of the Jupiter and into the wall there so you can't see it. And then that runs over to our control board. And we had to kind of play with this a little bit. The first board we tried, the fusion core was a little bit too slow, so the second board that Ralph tweaked on a little bit sent me, it's just right. It gives a beautiful effect. And then you can see we've got this really cool color changing effect going on in here. I'll tell you what I did there. Over here on the side, about here, I've got 5mm RGB mounted, just right flush against the wall in there, and it's sort of angled upward. The same thing on the other side in the exact same spot. And the board is controlling those. It runs the one on this side first for about 20 seconds, and then it runs the other one for 20 seconds, so it switches back and forth. And that way you get some sort of angled, multi-angled effects going on in there that hit from different sides, and I thought that would look pretty cool. And we've also got a third one that's directly up on the top here, pointing straight down, that's hooked directly to the power, which not to the board itself, so that it's always running. And I wanted to have that so that we don't have any lapse in the shifting back and forth, and I wanted to have sort of a spotlight coming straight down onto the Jupiter 2 itself. And the neat effect with that is that as they keep going, they start mixing the colors together, and so you get all these, almost an infinite amount of colors. And you'll see that once in a while they, like one of my favorite parts is when the red one hits and the blue is going on at the same time. Like right there, you can see it sort of makes those stalagmites that are hanging down look like, really cool. And to make the stalagmites, that's just basically some stretched hot glue. I laid a bead of hot glue down on a piece of glass so it wouldn't stick, and then I just kind of smeared it around and spread it around a little bit into these weird shapes and let it dry, and then I just pulled it off of there and hot glued it to the ceiling, and in various places where I thought it would look good, and kind of leaving it open in the middle so you could see the Jupiter. And then I added the little 350 scale figures in there for some more detail, but that all worked out really good. The model does come with a backdrop that has some of those sort of spiderwebby stalagmite looking things, and I painted the hot glue there with some iridescent blue and green and stuff to sort of try to match up the color that those were. And so even when the lights aren't on, they have some color on them. So it worked out really good, and it's easily done. So you can add all those own details to yours if you want to try that. But it worked out really great, and I'm really happy. Ralph, again, right on top of it, stepped right up to the challenge, and he got me this board in just a couple of days. So thanks again a bunch for that, Ralph. I really appreciate that. Made another one of my dreams come true here. So now, guys, what we have here to show you finally is we've added some sound to this too. I'm using one of my TrekWorks soundboards in this, and I just loaded on a sound of the opening sequence of the episode, the derelict, when they first discover the derelict and when they get pulled inside. So we're going to play that for you before we wrap this up here, guys. Here we go with that.
According to Will's calculations, pick this up instead. So you get a spectrometer reading? Yeah, the whole spectrum. But the relative concentrations don't read like anything I can identify. I can't get anything either.
Maybe it's an asteroid. And it's not Alpha Centauri?
No, dear. Give us a 3-second boost. Should be able to see it now.
It's a spaceship.
Let's move in closer. This is as close as we go. Let's get around the other side then. All right, if you insist. Well, look at that thing. Where's your scientific curiosity? All in one basket, Alpha Centauri.
What's it made of?
Probably some alloy we've never even heard of. for the spectrometer.
Where do you think it's from?
I don't know. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
It looks like a ghost ship. If it was in the path of that comet, the heat may have destroyed whatever life there was on board.
I'd like to make sure. Shoot, that size. Think of the payload it must be carrying, the fuel and the power unit. Why, it might even have a guidance system that could help us no matter where